Welcome to Own the Chaos. The stock market is crazy and chaotic.
Oh my God, are you seeing this shit, bro? Tesla closed at $695. What the hell is going on?
Brad and Fat Man Zoom are here to help you own it.
Now with IBM getting here, I think it's just going to come more to the forefront, and people are going to get more and more eyeballs on Salesforce. Should see a really nice move.
Taking it to the suits, being relatable and hilarious.
We got D's nuts in the crew. Every crew needs D's nuts. You know what D's nuts' number one holding is? Big C.
Get ready to own the chaos in 3, 2, 1.
Boom. Now we have sound.
Push the button.
That's really all it comes down to, is pushing the button, because Brad can't run the sound. I can't run the soundboard at all. You sound great.
Good.
But anyways, let's go ahead and try that again. Welcome everybody to Own the Chaos. My name is Brad. That is Fat Man Zoom. We have a different setting here. Hopefully,
still no sound. Oh no.
No, we're good. We're good. Hopefully, we'll figure out which side of the studio we want to be on. I'm sure we'll have various different areas that we'll be shooting from, but you guys have to let us know what you think. I also did want to. It still says no. Yeah, we're good.
Stu, are you up in Chi-Town? Are you in Chi-Town? those are actually the Fat Man Zoom home special. the canvases,
personal artwork.
Thanks, Jason.
But yeah, so pretty crazy day in the market. Yesterday there was a pretty big sell-off, and now things seem to be really coming back. Some really strong moves out of some of the stocks that Stockwatch Sunday came out with. Your Zillow went off. Yeah. My ALAC went off. Bunch of stuff moving today. Even Tesla came back after a little bit of a sell-off yesterday too. But Tesla yesterday was kind of one of the bright spots in the overall market.
Yeah.
But really one of the big things that kind of took a dive was what? EVs, I think, was probably one of the bigger ones that took a dive. QS was a big one. And
yeah,
I know you wanted to speak to just kind of what it is that we were going to talk about today.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot going on. I wasn't in any of the EVs that went down. Actually, I was only in Zoom and Nio yesterday, which did really well. Nio crushed it yesterday. But I mean, we have the political situation with Georgia. We have we have IPOC happening tomorrow, which we'll get into a little bit of that. We have the EV situation, and we also had the China news, which New York Stock Exchange sort of walked back their issues with China. So I think subsequently you saw some good moves in that. But overall, I think most things are green. I think you should be, at least what we're hearing in the Discord from the crew is most people are green. So all that stuff is good. So overall, I mean, the watch list did do really well. I was happy with the Baba comeback. But I mean, everything looks good.
Yeah, I mean, what a monster day. It's kind of been crazy. You know, you think some of the analysts and really kind of the CNBCers have just been, even just in the first day of the year, of the trading year, where like, you know, the sky's falling, everybody needs to run for the hills. And, you know, most of us, you know, within the crew were kind of like, you know, it's not a big deal. We're fine. And buy the dip on some of this stuff. And show enough. It's paying off today. I see that Don Fron is in the house. He said, and Jack Ma is alive. Yeah, so we're getting reports that he actually ended up just, you know, it was one of his, informants, I guess, or somebody close to him.
You guys say he's alive. No, there's no proof. There's a source that said that he's laying low, but there's been no public appearance. So, yeah, I mean, anybody could say, hey, Jack Ma's around. I've seen him. I need to see his face. But yeah, sources are saying that he's just laying low.
We have like a North Korea situation.
Yeah, we might.
Kim Jong-un might be dead. He might not be.
We need Jack Ma for Baba to get above 250.
We do.
I need Jack
but
Ma.
Baba did move incredibly well off of that news today. So a huge move on that. And that's something that you in particular have been really bullish on. I mean, I have been too, but you've kind of been championing that from the bottom.
Yeah, it's in our long-term portfolio. Really. It's. I was hoping. I have a standing order at 215. I was hoping that it hit, but it just did not get there. Off the news that he was missing, and so I thought that might happen. That would have been awesome. But I don't know if we're going to see these levels again. You know, I don't know how much it was with Jack Ma. I mean, I think anytime you hear delisting, that it doesn't matter what companies they are. I think that hurt Chinese companies in general as well. So the fact that there was good news regarding that, I think that could have potentially helped as well. So, you know, whatever moves it, as long as it moves back up. But yeah, I mean, it's sitting pretty right now. A lot of stuff is looking good though. But you know, let's start with let's get into the Georgia situation, because you hear the articles about Georgia runoff. To be honest, I could really care less. I couldn't care less about the situation. Yeah. But it is a topic of conversation, and sometimes I feel like there's nothing else to talk about. So that's what the news stations are bringing up. How much of an impact do you think that actually comes into play?
I think that it will have an impact on certain stocks, depending on which way this goes. And I think that's probably why it's being talked about the most. But really, the important thing is, in my opinion, is probably not really so much of caring and, you know, just trying to be as objective as possible. If this happens, then these stocks are likely to move. Or if that happens, then those stocks are likely to move. So I think that if by some chance the Democrats end up taking over the Senate, we should see a really nice move in some of the renewables and EV stocks. And then obviously you'll probably start to see more of a downturn in some of the oil stocks that have actually done really well recently. And kind of the other way around, I think that either the stock market itself will probably remain stagnant or just continue its steady climb up. I think we see a huge move if Democrats get in, because they're already talking about this $2,000 stimulus that'll go through with ease. So there's some options there, but I think the most important thing is just to understand what could happen and just be prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that out of anything, I think what you said about the stimulus, that makes sense. The other stuff, nothing that happens is going to change my strategy. And maybe it changes, maybe it moves something for a day or whatever. Yeah. But to me, the overall sort of idea of it is, well, if the Democrats take the House, things get passed easier.
Right.
If they don't, I think what's happening now is just what's going to happen. Nothing changes for me. I'm not going to fundamentally change anything. I'm going to be more optimistic if the Democrats have the House, because I feel like doesn't matter. It's going to be clear on what stocks will move.
Yes.
And so the stimulus is the best point for the short term. As far as if that happens, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome for us, and that's awesome for the market. So I think we'll see a huge influx of people just throwing their money into the market.
Oh, my God.
And probably Bitcoin, too. The crypto will I'm sure, crush it.
I imagine everything will probably move. I mean,
Yeah.
we saw that back then, the first stimulus where like it was just $1,200 and everybody was taking the entire check and just throwing it into the market. So it'd be interesting to see how people do it this time around if that's what ends up happening.
Which, by the way, mentioning crypto, I told you today that I found my first piece of compelling evidence that I actually was like, okay, I can buy this regarding Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it converted me, but I was like, somebody finally made a fair point, and it was our boy Chamath.
Yeah.
Of course, he's coming through. He's one of the smartest people I know.
He's starting to turn out to be that way. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And I didn't really watch the interview, but you brought the compelling arguments that he was saying, and I was actually kind of like, that part of it definitely makes sense as far as the case for crypto.
Yeah. So,
Which was what?
we'll save it for another stream. How to tease him.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
So we got the Georgia runoff. Let's talk EVs.
Yes.
I noticed a question regarding Nio. We'll just start with Nio because Nio has Nio Day on Saturday
Yes.
the 9th.
Yeah.
And so is it a buy? Will it run into it? I mean, it was on Stockwatch Sunday. We said to expect it to run into it. I don't know if we expected a 10% move on Monday. It did pull back today. What are your thoughts going into it as it tries to claw back to green?
I think this is still a buy leading up to Saturday, and we've kind of talked about this on Stockwatch Sunday. It still most likely will probably make some sort of move to the bullish side, but I think that it's probably still a buy here.
Yeah.
Wouldn't want to be in full position size after Saturday. And I think that's going to be the overall plan for me, or something you may want to consider for those of you guys who are watching.
Yeah, it's a typical earnings strategy. And so if you're in the crew, we have a member video, which is our earnings strategy. And if you're not in the crew, join the crew and you can watch the video on how to play the earnings. But I agree, depending on your conviction with this stock, should reflect your position size. But absolutely, I think we still see some good movement in it. To me, I think, what's the downside? I think $50 is the downside, but I think it could run in and move up to all-time highs, maybe, potentially, if it makes a run. So that's not out of the realm of possibilities, but I like where it's positioned. I actually like that it sold off a little bit today and is now coming back. It's at just under $53, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, so the thing is with that too is that sometimes you definitely have this sense of anxiety if it runs up too fast or too much leading up to the event. So there's definitely some optimism here with it kind of having these healthy pullbacks, and I think that bodes well for the stock leading up to Saturday.
Yeah, for sure. Ema, you have no clue what you're talking about. Moving on. What did we miss?
So we have
we didn't talk about QS.
We did not talk about QS as far as EVs are concerned. So this is actually one that we talked about this morning within our mentorship, having an absolutely amazing move. And so this is kind of what I actually wanted to mainly focus on as far as EVs were concerned. If you guys tuned in last week, or if you tuned in during Stockwatch Sunday, I believe it was mentioned there too. Maybe not the Sunday before, but I talked about how these EV stocks and some of the renewable energy stocks were bound to have a serious pullback, and expect some sort of giant offering from a lot of these, with your Clean Sparks, with Plug Power, Blink, all of those. And sure enough, the first domino to fall here was QS. A 300 million share offering came out from them, and it tanked.
Yeah.
Unbelievably. I mean, probably around 65% from its highs, and having a great day today. It's up 17.5%. And so then it begs the question, is now the time to start buying up some of these EV stocks after they pulled back? And for me, it's kind of, the answer for me is sort of. Because I don't think that QuantumScape is necessarily a buy just yet. Today would have been a great day trade, of course, but I think that there might be some more settling out with this before it starts to make its real move up, especially if, we still have to work through some dilution. 300 million shares is a ton, which is why it dropped so much. And I think that we'll start to see that moving forward with some of these others that have gone up 1,100% in 2020.
Well, I mean, at the very least, the market is so saturated right now, whether you want to believe it or not.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what you like about these companies, and it can't just be this person does EV, right? So like, you need to start delineating yourself from, okay, what are the EVs? And you could have more than one in your portfolio, but tomorrow we're going to release a video on SPACs, and 2 of the SPACs have to do with EVs. And so I'm thinking like, okay, at what point is that EV like bullish sentiment going to move away where everybody else realizes there's just too many?
Yeah.
Because it's going to happen. Whether you realize later and you're one of the first ones to realize it,
right,
or you just wait till everybody else tells you after it drops, it's oversaturated. And now you need to really start digging into the fundamentals, the technicals, and find out what you like about these companies. And really, it's going to boil down to what are their niches and who can carve out niches beyond just, hey, we're the next Tesla, or we got a nice EV. At this point, most of the EVs look really good. I mean, some are better, but it's really just taste. And so I think that's really what it's going to boil down to. I don't know about this next SPAC, which we'll talk about. I don't actually think there's going to be as much hype. And I thought we'd hear more hype about Nio this week, and we really haven't. It feels like the market's kind of moving on, like not like response-wise from how the stock's moving, but just excitement in general. So we'll see if this is temporary or if this is something that lasts a little bit longer.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I think that there's going to be a moment in which a lot of these companies just get absorbed by the larger ones. Yeah. I'm surprised that we haven't seen any kind of acquisition come from Tesla, whether Tesla's bought up one of these little ones or Ford hasn't bought. Well, a GM, I should say, tried to with Nikola. I don't know whose idea that was to try to scoop up Nikola, but, or at least get a piece of that pie. But Lordstown Motors is also in that conversation. But I think that some really big acquisitions could come from some of these larger companies, and that's usually what ends up happening. Barrier to entry with some of these smaller companies is just too tough, and so that's probably what the next expectation is here, probably in the near future.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, speaking of, Tesla is still moving. I've been in it. I haven't sold it. But you actually recently just added. Did you add on to it yet, or did you get a starter in yesterday?
Yeah. So I rode Tesla from the low 400s all the way up to 695. Ended up getting out, and then took a bunch of profit, and then just kind of moved some things around. Played a little bit of a shell game. Noticed that Tesla went up to 740, and yesterday came back down, and then ended up taking a position on that dip. So sure enough, it seems to be paying off at this point. Went all the way back up to 740 at sides today. So I think that Tesla probably there's going to have some pullback days before then, but I think that this probably makes a really solid run leading into earnings. We've seen this every quarter from them, and I think that we see a really nice move on Tesla towards the end of the month.
Yeah, earnings are going to be wild unless there's something that comes out. I'm definitely not going to be in full position size, but. Yeah, we'll see what happens as far as that's concerned. But I am more than happy with how it's performing for me. I actually just put in my first take profit for Tesla before we got on our live stream. So gonna start trimming, gonna start taking profits on it. But that's because I'm in way more than max position size. And just the gains on it has even put me further over extended. So it's a good time for me to start thinking about that. And as we were speaking, my IPOC order filled, which I was
there we go,
because I didn't think it was going to fill. But IPOC, we're going to do a live stream tomorrow, but let's touch on it a little bit because it's had a little bit of a tough day. It was on the watch list, but it looks like it's bouncing back.
Yeah, it actually is. If we go out into the 5-minute chart, it had highs today of $16 and has pulled back to around $15.65. Over the last couple of days, it's had a little bit of a pullback, and this actually looks really good right now. Tomorrow, we'll be going live with you guys. There's going to be a vote on the merger of Clover Health on IPOC tomorrow. So we wanted to go live to make sure that we were here for you guys on that. I love IPOC. I think that this was definitely a good dip opportunity. We could see a nice little run tomorrow morning leading up to that merger discussion.
Absolutely. And that's at noon.
Yes.
So make sure you tune in. That's going to be a special live stream.
Yeah, we don't usually go live on Wednesday.
So make sure you like and subscribe, hit the notification button so you get that information. And that should be a really interesting one. We'll talk about our strategy before noon comes. We'll talk about our strategy, how we plan on playing it, whether we're going to trim, whether we're going to stay in, whether we're going to sell all together. And then we're just going to look at the reaction. But I think there should be a reaction not only for that, but IPO D, E, and F. I'm interested to see how they move as well, because those are the next dominoes to fall in that progression. So all looks good. I mean, I'm really pleased with today overall. I know you got some other stuff that's moving on your in your portfolio, not on your watch list, but in your portfolio.
Oh, hell yeah, man. I mean, the biggest one for me right now, well, actually the two biggest ones, and they keep climbing. I can't believe this as we're watching this. It's pretty wild stuff. So Penn National is one that I've been in. I actually added to this at $80. It held really well. Some of you guys were asking about a good dip buy for Penn National. I said $80 was going to be that good solid support if it ended up holding that. Sure enough, it did. I ended up buying that as well down there, and it is paying off. So adding to that position was awesome. Square also making a monster run here towards the end of the day, up 228. So this is just two really good ones. Also ALAC. This is Stock Watch Sunday special. Another SPAC that just is ripping today. We talked about this one down at 1140 is where I entered it on ALAC. If you guys are part of the Chaos Crew, you guys know I've been talking about this for at least since last week. And so it's just made really nice moves. Highs of 1485. This is going to be an incredible mover, I think. Nice small share structure, and so it's not going to take a whole lot of buying power to get this thing moving.
Yeah. I wanted to actually backtrack because Evan Hake had a question regarding IPOC.
Yeah.
Where do you see IPOC going into tomorrow?
It's interesting, right? Because I think that there's going to be, I think it depends on how it moves tomorrow. If there's no reaction tomorrow morning leading up to the event, then I think that we could see a pop once it passes. If we see monster moves leading up to it, then I think there could be some selling of the news type of situation. But either way, I think a move towards $20 on one side or the other, this could be possible.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow morning we had a similar day as today, which is a little bit of a sell-off once the market opens, and then scooping up shares, especially around 11 o'clock. I think we see people looking to get in last minute before the news. Jay Gill, welcome to the crew.
There we go.
What will happen to the FANG stocks if Democrats take the Senate? We normally don't answer random questions during this, but it stuck out. Nothing will happen to them. They'll be just fine.
Yeah,
not a
going
damn
anywhere.
thing, Alex. And for those of you who are asking questions, non-topical related that we're talking about now, for the members, we do a live stream at 3:30. So tune back in at 3:30. That's solely devoted to the members' questions. So the Chaos Crew questions, that'll be it.
Yep.
A couple things that's looking well for me. They just won't trip. Spirit, somebody said Spirit Aerosystems as well is doing well for them. Pale. Yeah, Spirit is crushing it, up almost 8%. I put a stop in and it just won't trip.
It is a hell of a 5-minute intraday chart here.
Have you ever wanted it? I kind of wanted it. It's weird to say, but I was like, I just want it to trip.
Yeah.
I love it going up, but I'm like,
the anxiety definitely sets in a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I got to move that up. That did well. I said I got into IPOC, added on to Zoom. Yeah. I just got so much Zoom.
I forgot about Zoom. Yeah, so Zoom did really well for me. I actually ended up adding to this. I didn't catch the bottom of Zoom, but I got in at 352, so I felt really good about that. Even though I could have gotten in at a lower price down in the 330s. Looking at this on yesterday's move, I think that I don't know. Obviously, I'm pretty green on it already, but I'm pretty happy with the 350. It's held over 350, especially with the lockdowns going in place in the UK. I'm sure that we'll see some more of that happening, and that only kind of and it's not really nice to say, but it's just the truth that it benefits Zoom because of the lockdown itself. So that's why we decided. Well, I know that you've been super bullish on it, but why I also decided to end up getting in on this yesterday too.
It's unreal how bullish I'm on this stock.
Yeah.
Like it really is. And its reaction actually gave me more confidence today. The fact that it did go red, held up pretty well. I mean, it's technically it's looking really sound as opposed to like a month ago it wasn't, or even a couple weeks ago it wasn't. So I feel really good about where I stand with it, and I'm sticking it out unless there's any material change, like we always talk about. Unless there's any news,
right? I'm
sticking it out because I think there will be volatility. I don't think this will be a situation where it's just sideways. I think we're going to see a move. And they've been really quiet. I'm waiting for Zoom to give us something.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. And like I was speculating with you, it's like, man, I mean, they have all the ingredients to be included into the S&P 500. So that could be why we're seeing some silence from them and not really a whole lot as far from the company themselves. There's not a whole lot of communication going on there. I know that sounds crazy, and maybe to some of you it doesn't, but I think the S&P 500 inclusion is probably very close. And so if that happens, I definitely don't want to be out of the stock.
Oh, man. I know. How realistic do you think that is?
I think it's pretty realistic. I mean, and we've talked about this. It's not going anywhere, despite the vaccine, being administered and everything else, and the potential for people to go back to work to semi-normal this year. I still think that Zoom, we've talked about this. It's a household name.
Yeah.
And stocks like that just don't go away. And I think that there's a real possibility of it getting uplisted.
Yeah, I mean, it was on our bold predictions, but I was just talking out of my ass. So, I mean, there's like some random tweets, but I was just like, all right, just like my Amazon 20-to-1 stock split.
Yeah.
We're just talking out of our ass. Well, with that being said, I think we've covered most of this stuff. You want to tell people about the crew that haven't joined?
Yeah, so if you guys are not a part of the Chaos Crew, you guys seen a couple of folks joining in during this live stream. If you guys want to be a part of it and get daily watch lists from us, plus access to our Webull portfolios, Fat Man Zoom has one that he just started creating that we'll work on incorporating that into our Chaos Crew.
I have mentorship tomorrow.
Yeah.
This is my first one. We're going to do long-term investment.
Yeah. So I also have one that it's a little bit more of a shorter term strategy, but you get the access to those. Plus the live streams, like Fat Man Zoom said earlier, we're going to be going live at 3:30 p.m. today, but it's going to be Chaos Crew exclusive. So if you guys want to be a part of that, get your questions answered in there, then be part of the crew. Hit the join button next to subscribe. There's also a link in the description, or you can go to ownthechaos.com. We're starting to send some people over there too. So, man, just lots of things happening.
Yes, sir. So, guys, we'll see you at the closing bell if you're a member. If you're not, we will see you tomorrow at 11:30 Eastern time for the live stream.
There you have it, 11:30 Eastern time. That's going to do it for us. Make sure you're hitting the like button on your way out and subscribe if you're not. We had 360 people hanging out here. We certainly appreciate your time, and that is going to do it for us. See you guys. See the crew at 3:30.
Bye. Why did people start using Zoom instead of Skype?